Office staff potlunch lunches no more. This happened about 10 years ago. But it was the final straw. Office staff luncheon. Everyone is signed up to bring a dish. I spent over $50 in ground beef plus nachos, taco shells, sour cream, and taco sauce. I used my big crockpot. And it was full. Stopped by the break room during planning time. And the room was filled with loads of delicious goodies for an army. When it was time for our team to go fix our plates during lunch, the room looked like a mob had hit it. All the tacos and sauces, tortillas, fiesta corn, salsa, fruit, etc. were gone. Nothing but a bag of nacho chips were left for the last team. Come to find out that several people made second plates to take home and people who didn't contribute were the first ones in line. My team and I were all very hurt and hungry. Admin was informed, but no apologies and assistance. The next year the principal comes around with the sign-up sheet. It should be noted that this principal is a first-class jack $1. The stories I could tell about this guy. Hope he's enjoying the brand new 9 Christmas tree he stole from the school. Back to the story. He asks me why no one from our grade level has signed up for our Christmas potluck. I just looked at him and explained that each of us had contributed at least $50 each on the Feliz Navidad meal. And all we received was a few nachos. He tries to say this is the first he has heard of this. He and the AP were both notified that our team didn't get lunch. His response: well, this is the time you should be in the Christmas spirit. I was more than ticked that our own coworkers were being gluttons and thinking of no one else. It happened previously at a Thanksgiving luncheon. And the 2 huge pan of dressing that was homemade by the sweet office staff didn't make it through 1/2 of the luncheon. No more people wanting free rides and having no respect or showing courtesy for those who spent their time and money. And someone has to go ruin it. I had that happen when I was 6 months pregnant. I made Kahlua pork. About 15 pounds of it. I got caught in a meeting but saw people walk by with multiple to-go plates. When I got out of the meeting there was literally a bag of rolls left. I personally sought those people out and asked them why they had to-go plates when not everyone had eaten yet. None of them had a response that was much more than a grunt. But that was the last time I ever participated in any kind of potluck and never will again. I brought a dozen cupcakes for our office potluck. We always overcater, everyone brings something decent. Think 4 entrees, 4 mains, 3 dessert plates minimum. After we had eaten our fill, there were at least 8 cupcakes left. A few of us were waiting till afternoon tea to enjoy them. When Arvo tea came around, there wasn't a crumb left. Turned out a colleague decided to put all the leftovers in her car for the kids. Fuck that. I made her bring it all back to the kitchen. My cupcake was delicious. Some people's entitlement kills me. We had a potluck for someone on our team. Someone made a homemade version of their favorite cake. Someone from another team took the entire cake to their desk and proceeded to eat it with a fork. They weren't with the company the next day. Serves them right. Yeah. We had a potluck at the last place I worked at and one of the co-workers walked out with a whole turkey. Seriously. Slipped out the back door and put it in her car and came back like nothing happened. We only knew who did it because of the security cameras. There are 1,000 some rules that should be in place for every potluck ever. Rule 1: if you do not bring food, you do not get to eat food. End of story. I don't care if you can't cook to save your life. Go to the store, get a veggie tray, big package of cookies, one of those sandwiches the deli counter makes for you. Something. Rule 2: potluck food does not leave the potluck. At least not until the end of the damn day. When everyone there has had a chance to eat. Then. Only then. People can divvy up the remaining food amongst themselves. I don't blame you one iota for not wanting to participate again. I used to work in a bank. I was told the story of a bakery that used the bank who would drop off a cake for morning tea once a week as a thank you for the bank's help. Then they stopped doing that. One of the bank workers asked if they had upset the bakery. No. Apparently the manager would go in and collect the cake and take it home for herself. Always some bitch who messes up a good thing. I worked at an inner city school. Every potluck we had, the people at the end of the line got nothing because everyone thought it was for them to feed their entire family's dinner. Seeing people filling 2 and 3 plates of food was ridiculous. This is why our school secretary would serve the food. She would put an appropriate portion on each person's plate, and if you tried getting more, she'd publicly shame you loudly. If you didn't bring anything, she'd hesitate serving you and would point blank ask what you brought. She knew because she had a list of what each of us brought. When you inevitably admitted to bringing nothing, she would tell you to go to the back of the line. Everyone who contributed got to fill up first. Freeloaders were served last, and usually got smaller portions. And yes, she served those folks too, just to make sure they got an appropriate serving. I lovingly and laboriously made 8 pies to bring in enough for everyone to have at least a small slice. I handmade the dough, bought the pie boxes, etc., and spent an entire day and a huge amount of money. When it came time for dessert, there were only 2 pies there. The other 6 had apparently gone out the door in their boxes to a lady's car. I didn't even know her. She was bringing them to her own family holiday celebration. I hope she choked. No more work potlucks for me. Teacher here on last lunch. And I feel this. I've even paid for pizza before. And when my lunch hit, there was no pizza. We asked for our money back and were told they spent it all. Now I always bring a lunch when I can't get out of these stupid potlucks. I used to bring food for my coworkers during meetings. I stopped when one girl repeatedly would take any and all leftovers home. I mean half-full boxes of cookies, 10 cupcakes, nearly entire 12 packs of sodas, etc. She would never even ask either. A big staff 100 Christmas lunch which was catered, but the people at the end of the queue missed out completely due to gluttons at the start of the queue. Boss refunded them their money and kept a list of all their names. One more big catered lunch was held where those people were called first. Then no more big lunches with outside catering, but teams catered their own smaller groups and all ate together, which was much more manageable. Lesson was still, this is why we can't have nice things. I had my expensive Tupperware stolen. That was the last time I contributed. For my birthday one year I made 84 cupcakes. Much more than enough for both shifts plus extra. I kept 24 at my desk just to ensure the afternoon shift would get some, since I knew some people might take more than their fair share. It was terrible. A couple people asked if they could take one home, and that was fine. A few 4-6 and one giant wanker apparently took a dozen for the kids. There was nothing left halfway though lunch, and people were moaning about there being no cupcakes left. I was glad I had made sure to set aside the ones for afternoon shift and never brought anything again. Working for Liar is the worst. Coming in second are the people that just bring a bag of chips. As a third shift worker I feel this. Any potlucks or pizza days we are left with just the crusts and the crumbs. People who didn't contribute were the first ones in line. Isn't this always the way it goes? Years ago, I worked with that guy. One office potluck. Someone finally called him out on it as he loaded his plate beyond capacity. His answer: you wouldn't want to eat anything I could cook. They told him he could bring store-bought donuts or something like that. And he claimed he'd just screw that up, too. One single guy at my work always attended potlucks, but never contributed. I playfully called him out about it. In a group setting, he said he doesn't cook, but you could maybe bring a bag of chips and dip? Or a pack of drinks? It doesn't have to be homemade. Others joined in with suggestions. He doesn't come empty-handed anymore. Face with rolling eyes. We had a guy that came in on his day off and loaded up plates for his entire family and took it all home. Later crew got nothing. If you have the previous year's list, you can ask them all to have a secret potluck dinner after school. Just the ones who contributed. Just as a sort of a group secret. It will be quite thrilling in all of your heads to hide it. A few of you might accidentally let it slip on social media. It would be quite entertaining, especially if all the food is home cooked. Of course, this shouldn't be done at the school. You all can take turns every year to host it at each other's house. Nothing brings together people better than when it's a common enemy of selfish eaters. IDK why people think they deserve to take food home that is meant as a workplace lunch. Like, how greedy and selfish can you be? You eat a modest meal, enjoy it, and then go home and cook dinner from your own fridge. That has always been so weird to me. Some people just have no self-awareness or regard for other people. Which is a horrible combo. Honestly, potluck food is a real hazard anyway. Between somebody's cat's litter pieces in the food and selfish pigs, it's just not worth it. At my previous job, we got to the point where you either contributed or you didn't get a plater. Flatware in the plate had to have a certain symbol on the bottom. Fortunately, at my present job, people love to cook. Scientists seem to crazy cooking fanatics. I hate potlucks for this reason. I always opt out of them at work. And I promise I don't take anything at my school. The Paris eat all the goodies in the staff lounge while the teachers bust their asses. People are assholes. Had one like that one time. I used to bake stuff for potlucks until the time an entire cake disappeared before lunch was even started. And then the people who split it had the audacity to complain that the cake wasn't the right flavor. They were lucky if I even brought napkins after that. I work at a local university, and every year they would have a welcome new school year lunch for the staff. One year, we had pizzas. Most people took 1-2 pieces, then might have gone back after everyone had gone through the line. Then you had the ones that just piled their plates like they were never going to eat again. But the one that got me the most was one coworker's wife showed up with their grandchildren and fed their lunch, then started combining half-empty boxes of pizza to make full ones to take home to feed the kids the next day. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I like to make a special treat for my team every year around the holidays. We're only 9 people, so I make just enough. Last year I made Oreo truffles and made 8 pretty boxes, one for each of my staff, and out them in the staff fridge. There was even vegan batch for one person who couldn't eat dairy. Later that day, our receptionist, who was a lazy, whiny, entitled poss, comes waltzing out of our office eating the fucking truffles. I hadn't offered him any. He had no business being in our office, and especially had no business digging around in our staff fridge. Such a gross, rude person. He's gone now. Thank God. We had a potluck at my previous school during PD Professional Development Week, and every team was assigned a day to bring food. The second day, someone brought something bad and a lot of people ended up getting food poisoning. Never had another potluck after that. We had a pizza party and the first shift came in and ate all of it. Didn't leave a crust for anyone else. They were given a stern talking to, for which they rolled their eyes and sighed. Boss, you should be in the Christmas spirit. Me Christmas spirit is not about feeding selfish assholes. I'm lucky where I work most bring for potluck. We do excuse the one evening shift person since he comes on duty after lunch. We make sure he has a plate of food. If we are getting takeout, he does contribute to that. I have been at this job 25 years. We didn't do anything for about 4 years due to bad conditions and low morale. Once we got back into a decent place, we started back up again. I understand not having them, but I really think it depends on your team. My wife's office used to do that on occasion. Everyone knew I loved to cook, so my wife was usually bringing one of the main courses and everyone brings sides, etc. They would have a sign-up sheet for what you would bring. The same people would always bring chips, dips, 2-liter sodas, napkins, rolls, etc. Cheap shit they could pick up on the way to work in the morning, and I'd be cooking most of the day before and spend at least $50 for the food and my time. It just wasn't worth it. That lasted maybe a couple years and we stopped doing it. Seeing these responses, I'll never participate in these if ever, and will just buy myself a nice $50 lunch. Brought 2 dozen donuts in to work as a surprise, and one guy ate 6 before I realized, and I stopped and politely told him to let others have some too, but a usually friendly guy standing nearby called him a pig. A lot of people aren't a fan of me at my work because we do these each month and I straight up refuse to participate. I'm not cooking for a bunch of entitled dicks who I actively avoid socializing with. No one has any manners anymore, and empathy and compassion are more rare than diamonds. I really don't know why companies think these are good ideas. Worked at a ghetto-ass Macy's in 2014 and they threw a pizza party. Didn't get a single slice while many workers were loading 3-4 slices on their plates. When confronted, regular staff yelled at us and said seasonal workers aren't priority. I used every last sick day I could before they could fire me. Fuck that company and their trashy ass workers. I hate potlucks. I don't want to eat food prepared in someone's house that I've never seen. Plus, when I worked in an office that did this monthly, everyone was from different ethnicities and pretty much refused to try other people's food. So basically we all made ourselves lunch but had to make much more just in case someone else wanted to try it. There was so much food waste. One department was having a potluck. My department was asked to participate. I said sure. Come to find out that we couldn't eat the food. I withdrew my participation and got called into HR. Explained that I was not going to supply food to a party I'm not invited to. I mean, WTF? I feel the same, but for a different reason. I thought the potluck salad bar was catered. It wasn't, and I got sick with 3 more classes to teach. Now, when we have potluck, I fix a small plate and throw it in the trash when I get to my room. I have tried not going to get a plate, but one is either sent to me or a person is sent to cover my class while I get a plate. I can't escape. At where we work, anytime we have a potluck, they look to see who is not there, make a plate for them before anyone gets anything else, and either text or call them to let them know they have a plate in the fridge. I had one notoriously cheap supervisor who always volunteered to supply paper plates, napkins, and plastic forks, etc. It was a running joke in our office how chintzy this person was. At an old employer, we'd have potlucks where if you brought a dish, you are free. Otherwise, it was $5 that went to the employees' association. We had a woman who would bring in whatever junk she had in her kitchen. Take food, then take whatever she brought. It was a federal government job. She had $5. When we had potlucks, the supervisor would always forget to bring something, so we crammed everyone into my tiny office and locked the door. He'd find a reason to ask me something and I'd open the door a tiny crack and ask what he wanted. He'd say, "Wow, it smells delicious." "It is," I'd reply. We had a team lunch, so we all got something as it was just our team, and I signed up for salad. My salads are mixed greens. Lots of veggies and choices of dressing. The supervisor told me to not just bring lettuce. Right after someone signed up to eggs. Almost 10 years later, and I still get ticked off thinking about it. Sadly, this is common behavior. I had a professional catering company, and the way we got around this was to have extra plates of food in the kitchen, which we replaced as the food on the buffet table was depleted. Otherwise, the people at the end of the line really got nothing. I worked in a hospital in my hometown. I'm an RN. We would do brunch potlucks on day shift, and I was frequently asked to bring my cinnamon pull-apart bread. One potluck day, I walked into the break room to find a couple of custodial staff who were not assigned to our department, just occasionally worked there, sitting at the table, eating hunk after hunk of my bread. None of our staff had even had a moment yet to eat. And here were these gluttons. You bet I spoke up. Hey, none of us have eaten yet. Please leave the food for our staff. At company we had lunch starting from 1300. Obviously not everybody could come at 11 because of duties, so by the 12:30 all the good stuff and cakes were gone. One time I had a chance to come first, and there was people getting a plate of each different meal. And a plate full with cakes. That people that came at 11:15 could just watch all the cakes in front of just few people, and when asked, they said it was for lots of people that will come in few minutes. Some people have no shame. I also had a thing that if I don't have time to eat by 12, that I would wait an hour for them to close, then went to kitchen to get fresh lunch. At a former job there has been individually wrapped cookies for a coffee bar. There were brand new, fresh cookies. A guy working where ate about 75 of them in one day. Never replaced them. This same guy, let's call him Matt, and another guy John, would always say, we need to have a barbecue or potluck here. Yeah bro, let's do it. They'd say it maybe a few times a week for years. Matt finally said it again, so I challenged him to follow through. He did. I asked John if he would follow through, and he kinda chuckled and didn't disguised face. I'm in a flea market, and we have a few people that regularly bring stuff, including us. I'm always extra. This one lady who never brings anything brings her customers over there and serves them. It's for customers too, but she acts like she provides it. TBH, I thought she was in charge because she pretends she is. Lo and behold, she's being kicked out for being 6 months behind on rent. I can honestly say these types of problems are why working at Walmart in a small town in the early mid-2000s as a single mom wasn't too bad. They held a monthly staff appreciation barbecue. If they ran out of food, they didn't have to go far to get more. Store use it out and grill it for the employees to have during breaks. The managers on those grills kept damn good track on who had how many burgers to, so no one had more than two. Bummed out our TLE guys, but they lived because there were other goodies for them to enjoy. We had one guy that would bring circus of peanuts every time, but would eat his weight min 275 in food. No one ever touched the circus peanuts, so he always got to take his contribution home. Switched shifts. New to the supervisory position. Was told the shift likes to do nacho bar lunches once a month. Put out a sign-up sheet. Was filled with 30 people bringing in bag of chips. I brought in $100 worth of taco meat, cheese sauce, and all the toppings you'd put on nachos. We ran out, and 5 people complained to me about why wasn't there more meat and fixings. The second time was almost exactly the same, except I bought more meat and drinks for 100 people. We were a shift of 40. Still had complaints. We don't have nachos anymore. And before you ask, yes, this was out of my own money. This is why I won't bring homemade egg rolls to our luncheons. Yes, they're delicious. but they take hours for me to complete. I'm more than happy to make them for my nearest and dearest, but not for people who will take the whole tray for themselves and laugh about finders keepers. This happens at every school I have worked at. I stopped signing up as well. The last straw for me is when we did a huge backed potato bar with giant potatoes individually wrapped in foil and bowls of toppings. A long-term substitute teacher came in with a giant purse, took many potatoes and tossed into her purse, took a 9 by 11 foil liner from a pan and filled it with toppings, then took it all home. I was the only one who spoke up. Everyone else was in shock, and then I was told it's cultural. Let it go, never again. There's been lots of potlucks that I was too broke to participate in over my years. I never once grabbed a plate without being told it was okay that I could. And never took a lot because I hadn't contributed. The nerve of those people to all of ITWTAF. My mother works at a school, and they make her participate in the potlucks. She has some serious dietary restrictions and can't eat really any of the food that everyone else makes. She would likely have refused if they wouldn't throw a fit about her not showing her school spirit. So she couldn't even get the food if she wanted to, but still has to make something to bring for it. Total BS. But if she didn't go, they'd probably all gossip about her like a bunch of children. That's office culture for you. I used to work overnight at a call center. Pizza would be ordered during the day. If there was any left for my shift, it was cold and hard. There were people, some of them managers, from first and second shift that would take one or more entire pizzas home when they were leaving, even though they knew that there were like 90 people working overnight that the pizzas were supposed to be left for. I hate that. Our students and teachers have one of two lunch periods. We stopped doing potlucks, except at the staff functions. Everyone eats at the same time. We found it was our male teachers who'd contribute a bag of ice, then eat 3 plates of food. So, we assigned entrees from Ella, sides from 2 other departments, etc. That's the only way we found was fair. Ditto. 4 office events and lunches, and couldn't get most to pay their share or even help clean up. Even the supervisors. I stopped footing the bill and won't even make the lunch run for the office. Too many people are willing to take advantage of others' efforts and generosity. I work in a multicultural environment too. So, many of the men don't help or contribute simply because they don't have to contribute in this way at home either. Which is cool at home. But I'm no one's workmaid. This happened at my office, so to avoid this, the senior managers oversee the buffet line to ensure everyone gets lunch. Once everyone has their plates, we make our lunch and then announce there are leftovers for anyone who wants seconds. I once asked a dude at work what he brought to the potluck. He said, my appetite. Fuck that. Our school always has so many contributions that either people are pushing people to take home food so they don't have to, or if it's not a Friday, admin heats it up and puts leftovers out the next day in the staff room. We had a potluck, and at our lunch table, someone pointed out a woman at the food table and told us she said that she cooked in the nude. I said, well, if you find a curly hair in your food, just remember that she doesn't have a perm. Our holiday luncheon is only for those who bring a dish. Whoever sends out the invite needs to word it that way and be the gatekeeper as people drop off or arrive to the party. Our main office secretary does it for us. This is exactly why I stopped participating in office potlucks. You fix the culture by calling out people who are being gluttons. A manager will do. Should be 1 plate per person. And if someone didn't contribute, they get nothing. If there's leftovers after, then they can have some. I made homemade New England clam chowder for my husband's crew one Christmas. One of the crew members helped himself to several bowls before their lunch break. There was barely enough for the rest of the guys to have a full bowl. On a positive note, he ate so much that he got a massive case of diarrhea. You work with pigs. One year after a holiday party that I nicely catered for my staff members from a completely different department came in the back door with Tupperware containers and started taking the food that was left over. My assistant came and got me and I confronted these people. If anything, the leftovers would go to my staff. I was so shocked and angry. The next year I stood as a monitor at the party's end. Those grubbies were disappointed when they came and I was there. I would have said make sure everyone gets one and only one plate if there are any leftovers after everyone's had something. Then you can go back for seconds. And if he said no, he'd have my resignation then and there. And I would be finding my own lunch instead of going to the potluck. Sadly, there are often too many stupid, trashy people to be able to make a potluck feasible at work. People's greed can be so surprising, and it's especially awkward in a workplace. People really sort themselves out when it comes to free food. I worked at a large postal sorting facility. Management bought giant sub 6-footers and I witnessed someone take one of these and load it into their car and drive off. Legendary selfishness. I am 100 not shocked that OP works at a school. What makes school building potlucks even worse is that you also have all kinds of aides, custodians, and other support staff who usually come in and clean everything out. Our building has 3 lunches, so there's usually nothing left by the time lunch rolls around. I won't participate in potlucks anymore unless their whole staff and everyone gets to eat at the same time, like a PD day. Yeah. We had a sign-up sheet. A rude employee crossed my name off drinks and signed me up for something else. She and her cousin were surprised that I never signed up again. This is why someone, maybe you or someone affected by past issues, need to portion and volunteer to distribute. And there should be food tickets and no takeaway containers. All-you-can-eat buffets have ruined people. If someone doesn't contribute food to get a food ticket, they can buy a ticket. Not potluck. But as my office is not too big, we all eat together for a few special occasion meals. I usually end up being the one taking a lot of stuff home, whether pizza or sushi. However, I at least have the decency to try to get others to take some of it. As much as I try, they usually turn it down. So I often bring it back as lunch in future days, and try to make up a couple containers so that I can offer to other coworkers if they didn't bring a lunch. I never bring anything to potluck because I'm vegan and no one ever brings something that I can eat. Therefore I don't partake either. It sounds like banning to-go plates is the answer. Honestly, why would anyone assume that's okay? Especially in a situation where everyone isn't eating simultaneously. I was at a beach bonfire. It was in the evening now and this girl asked if she could have my bottle of vodka. I honestly thought she meant to drink right now and I said yeah sure, but was mistaken and saw her going through people's coolers and taking their bottles of alcohol and stashing it in a box. Well, 10 minutes later someone is asking for their box and I tell them, oh, that girl has it full of alcohol. She acted like it was hers. She put her jacket over it and inside was 10 bottles of alcohol from other people's coolers. She just kinda mumbled and grabbed her jacket and left. I worked at a smallish TV station and my first year was the year they canceled the Christmas party. Instead they had lunch for everyone. It was 3 deli meat and cheese platters from Kroger's. 20 minutes after it was supposed to start I walk in and everything is gone. The engineering staff ate everything before the news crews could. The next morning something is off. Come to find out the entire engineering staff had food poisoning from the day-old lunch meat that was bought. Deserves them, right? Company I worked for got smart. They would purchase, say, Chick-fil-A and only put out so much at lunchtime intervals so everyone got a meal. Also, would have office staff monitoring. Yeah, there needs to be a no-to-go plates rule. Everyone gets one plate and only one. At the end of the workday if there are leftovers. Fine. Greed is so bad. This is why I don't participate in potlucks anymore. You all need a no-to-go cop at the door. Pigs. I used to work in a small law office. Once a year, the lawyers, not the law firm, would pay for an appreciation lunch with their own money. The staff was able to pick the food they wanted and place the order. One year, a staff person decided to order 3 times as much food as was needed to feed everyone so that person could take home the leftovers. The lunches stopped immediately. So did the final straw lead to your quitting? Our office was a mixed bag, some old, some ladies, some old men, some younger, white, black, Hispanic, etc. Lunches were very nice until we discovered a thief. She was discovered after a certain lunch item went missing. The cooker, a retired military veteran, had cooked a delicious 3-day-old roadkill possum. The broadcast over the office PA system was followed by us hearing feet thumping down a hallway. Then wretched throwing up sounds. When she emerged, almost the entire office, maybe 45 people, stood there to greet her and clapping. Nothing ever came up missing again. Wally world closer here. That happens to us and the ON people all the time. No one cares about the end shift. Just themselves. I've had coworkers tell me about the food that was so good that they had to take extras of. And when I'd ask if there was any for closers, they'd clam up so fast some coworkers just suck. Reminds me of the saying, some people will take one slice of the pizza in case there isn't enough to go around. Others take 2 for the same reason. And it seems the people who bitch the loudest and longest about handouts are the ones who benefited most and don't want others having the same. All because they worked hard for it. As if no one else did. I'm wondering if that's why our school's PTA stopped hosting lunches for staff. I always participated, spending loads to make sure I made enough for the 71-person faculty and staff. There was usually a PTA member around to make sure things were restocked and clean for each group. But I don't know that they monitored how much each person was dishing up. Sorry, that's something that was ruined by a bunch of inconsiderate beeholes. Had that in my last job. The greed of people is insane. After the first time it happened, I made an announcement in our team meeting that I won't be taking part in anything that requires potluck, donations, or provision of anything at my cost for the benefit of coworkers. That includes birthday cakes, Christmas, Easter, work events out, etc. If that makes me the office Grinch, then I'm fine with it, because at least I'll be a Grinch with a full belly, full wallet and low stress levels. Small medical office with different ethnicities working together. We had the most amazing potluck lunches with all kinds of different foods. Office bought the drunks out, catered a turkey at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Sometimes someone just called a potluck on Friday on Monday, and it was great to anticipate lunch on Friday. But we're talking 8-10 people max. At my previous job, we got to the point where you either contributed or you didn't get a plate or flatware, and the plate had to have a certain symbol on the bottom. Fortunately, at my present job, people love to cook. Scientists seem to crazy cooking fanatics. We usually have lunch brought in catered during our busy times. We always order more than what we would eat for lunch, so we would have food come dinner. We are a small firm. We had a front office lady that would load up a plate, eat half, and then load up another. So when we went to get food that evening or even the next afternoon for lunch, there wasn't anything left. Let me tell you the amount of accountants that were upset they had no food. She didn't last long. Do not mess with accountants during deadlines. Last time we had a potluck, I brought a enchilada casserole my wife made. No one even touched it cause they just went for the pizza someone ordered. Never taking part in potluck again. Yep. Same thing happened at workplace I was last at. One woman made a delicious dish. Yet it was gone by the time I got there. People are just rude. All the way around. That's too bad. At my work we are pretty good at licing the food so people don't take too much and people who didn't contribute are not allowed in until maybe the very end. People are selfish and dirty. Treat yourself to an extra nice lunch instead. My experience was those who didn't contribute and the greediest also were not the lower paid staff. Thought the rest should serve them. I received lots of flack when I opted out of potlucks, but nothing was ever said to the overeating non-contributors. This is why you don't put everything out at once if you're going in shifts. Learned that one a long time ago. Now my team brings our stuff when we go to eat. And now so do others. There's no excuse for not contributing. A bag of chips and dip or a bag of bagels and cream cheese is little effort. OMG no, don't do no more. We used to have issues at work with people being first in line but never brought any food. We ended up having a huge fight at a staff meeting. All about those who eat but don't bring. One of the secretaries had made a list of who provided what for the past several months and who ate but didn't bring. Some wanted to ban them from the break room. It ended up with the offenders agreeing to provide drinks, napkins and paper plates. I will never go to a non-family potluck for this reason. People are always animals. You should do your own potluck without any of the assholes. Make it a totally different day. Tell nobody but those involved and enjoy. Yeah, been there with church potlucks. Everyone gets one plate one trip through until everyone has eaten. Then, seconds are welcome. No take-home plates. The feast is only for attendees. Period. This is exactly why I no longer even contribute to any gifts, birthdays, new babies, leaving job, etc., or sign cards, etc. I just do not get involved in anything personal or along those lines anymore. I have been called a Grinch and miserable for it, but it avoids conflict. And all I want to do is do my job and then go home and enjoy life. Lol, grin tears of joy. I always feel creeped out by potlucks anyway. You just do not know how clean other people's kitchens are and what their personal habits at home are either. You and your grade should do your own potluck. I brought cookies into work as a pick-me-up for my department because the previous day was not that great. One person ate all the cookies, no one else got to them. Keep in mind this person was not even in our department. She said, I saw the cookies and helped myself. She knew I brought them in for my department. No one in my department got cookies and my boss talked to the cookie thief's boss. We have potlucks all the time in my town. You eat there and then everyone bring whatever is left of their dish home with them. No to-go plates. Before I retired, this kind of behavior was the bane of my existence. Every single person in the place made more money than me and they were all rude, thoughtless, selfish hogs. Any catered meal intended for a meeting had to be in a locked room after one guy walked out with the majority of a full hotel pan full of bacon. He was not part of the meeting, of course. We stopped potlucks years ago because of this sort of thing. The worst offenders had absolutely no shame about openly grabbing as much free food as they could carry. Our place used to do lunches for everyone. The managers would often barbecue meats and cater sides. Some people the same every time would get there first as they were on that floor and fill up 3 or 4 plates for the kids on the first round. It meant some didn't get much. I talked to my boss about it and they had to start stressing you could go back for a second plate. When everyone had been through and they watched announced when you could. Sad they had to point that out. This thread is full of people just never calling out CS. It's infuriating. We would get lunch catered every now and then. Most people would be decent, but we had to start policing because we always had people coming in at different times to eat. My favorite was the gentleman that would take massive bags to go and then bring it in for lunch for the next few days. For people making good money, they were some of the cheapest sonsabiches I've ever met. I'll be honest. Stuff like this is why I brought store-bought cookies to the last potluck I attended. Not the shitty Chips Ahoy. The decent size homemade style. But I was not shelling out my money and time to cook for a bunch of dudes who don't even respect me enough to pronounce my name right. This reminds me of this movie. There is a jail with like 100 levels of cells. There is a hole in the middle of each cell. A platform full of food comes from the top to the bottom. The people at the bottom have no food and die. Everyone else at the top levels ate more of their share. If everyone ate a little bit and kept mindful of the lower levels, everyone would be fine. They don't though. So the lower levels people resort to cannibalism. That's humans for you. When we had money-raising lunches for the Xmas party etc. at work, we would bring food via sign-ups. But we had monitors that dished up servings. They made sure everyone was served before giving seconds. And any leftovers were given back to the one that brought them if they wanted. Perhaps your group could have servers to monitor the servings. Just like the lunch ladies of high school, because it sounds like the crowd acts like they are in high school. I've written before how I had no problem snatching plates from cousins who overpiled plates before everyone else had even had a first serving. I fixed at least 3 other plates from the 2 I snatched from them. And don't get me started on the keto dieter at work who took nearly half the burger patties and chicken, like 5 pounds if meat, because she couldn't eat anything with carbs. That's a big tough titties there. I'm petty, so I'd recommend doing something separate from them. Wow. I don't understand people. I know I shouldn't be shocked. But, oh my. Wow. The audacity of some people actually astounds me. Ours always worked well except my mum's pies. They were so good you had to get in there as quickly as you could. Damn, but I wish I'd gotten the recipes before she died. In our potluck, the leftovers were the really bad dishes. After realizing how gross people's homes can be, no thank you. We did this for a teacher when I was in high school. Our class organized to surprise her with lunch, and me and a few other students had cooked up some pies and other hot food. The lunch bell rung and literally the whole year level just bombarded our classroom like a pack of wild animals, stealing all the food and running out of the room. Was so angry and upset. People suck and are so selfish. My team decided to have our own potlunch lunches. We have it in our own workroom and it's been wonderful. We had a small department surprise party a few months ago. To keep it a surprise, just a few of us brought in food. I'm fine with that. We have a small office and we had it set up on an empty desk. Sure enough, a department in another room started popping up and checking out the food. Someone asked me about it and said we are just having a small accounting department birthday party. That kept them away for a little bit. But later a coworker that didn't bring in food invited one of them to have a plate of food. Well, that opened the floodgates. They all came in and ate our food. I told them I'm done with carry-ins now. That's one of many reasons I love where I work. When there's a company potluck, everything is kept in a locked room that only a couple of people have keys to. The room is monitored when it is open, and all departments are called individually. No one from any department is allowed seconds until after everyone has had a chance to get food if they want. I don't blame you for not wanting to contribute anymore. I would assign everyone a meal ticket. Someone monitoring takes the meal ticket as they enter. That way, they can't go back for seconds. They also need to keep track of how many meal tickets they give out and how many they get back. If they get all of them back, then they can allow people in to get seconds. But I wouldn't allow any food to be taken home, except for the people that contribute taking what they brought in. This is why I never participate in potlucks. This and there's always that one person who tries to sneak deer meat in as beef and the try to gotcha about it later. Sorry, knucklehead. You ain't fooling anyone. My place of work had full kitchens in maintenance shops, admin offices, etc. When having to work nights due to shutdowns, there's always someone who brings and cooks the food right there. I learned very quickly whose food was safe to eat and whose was not. Lol, you can learn a lot about someone's sanitary practices by observing their cooking and their bathroom habits. Ha ha ha. Have you noticed the people taking the food home aren't the ones who need to? I'm not talking weight. I'm talking funds. It's the boss or top-ranked salesperson. Yeah, potlucks are a great idea, but they need to be for a smaller crowd that can all be there at the same time. Luke in Ops instance sounded like multiple teams who all eat at different times, and being last you will definitely get the shitty end of the stick. I remember working as a temporary in a law firm. The staffing office sent a Christmas tray of goodies to my old supervisor by mistake. My new supervisor learned about the mistake with the tray of goodies and was upset. My old supervisor should have given the tray of goodies to my new supervisor. I don't bring food to potlucks. Sounds like my old job. We would have reps buy us lunch at a nice place and lots of the girls would order 2 meals. One to take home for dinner. They did this for a couple years and finally the representative stopped bringing us meals and resorted to just candy basket. I mean, lunch should have been $10 max, but their meal ended up being like $25. Greedy sobs. Not me. Many years ago I worked for a small middleman company for appliances. There were 2 things that made me angry. We seldom saw the higher-ups, but they would always appear when we had a potluck lunch. They never contributed, but they helped themselves. The second thing was the annual holiday. Our customers sent generous baskets for our department. Guess who never got any? The managers took them home, and we had to write thank you notes as if it had been shared.